Continuing the series of ramblings and memories from the 491 Gallery and the Vertigo Film Club, 2 long-term squats in Leytonstone, London, from 2002 to 2004. Undoubtedly one of the highlights was the Richard and Judy Show, which no one could really predict. There'd been, I think, one article in the Evening Standard and another article picked up on that with regards to these bourgeois squatters, these arty bourgeois squatters, and how amazing they transformed this once cracked den into this beautiful gallery. So the country's biggest daytime chat show phoned us up and said, look, we want to do a piece on you. Get a couple of you in on the sofa and have a chat. So that was quite something. Exposure to millions of people. We had a message. The message was scrap. Sustainable community regeneration arts project. I always called it. I dropped the sustainable because I don't think we were that sustainable really. Ultimately, I think we were like we aimed towards it, but we didn't quite get it. So I always go for the acronym CRAP. Yeah, because we were definitely a community regeneration arts project. So yeah, we had them round, man. They came quite early. We had to be up and running. We had to look like we were like busy, like it was a busy day, like a typical busy day. Everything was up and running. The sound studio, the cinema, the various workshops, the sewing workshop. Everything had to look prim and proper, and like not a single tin cans, not a single spliff, roach, whatever. Just everything swept, everything looking perfect. For the millions of viewers out there who have only had a very dim view of squatting, and we wanted to blow that out of the water. We wanted to show what was possible when we could get a decent landlord who's prepared to like throw a few months at you, so you can show what you can do. Not just live from hand to mouth and not know if you're going to get kicked out any minute. So you can put the effort in, and you can show what can be done with these spaces, these empty spaces. So it was a real opportunity, propaganda, mate, totally. So we went for it, and they came round, and we were up and running, and everything was kind of perfect, yeah. And they did this little piece with music all over it. They interviewed a couple of local residents who were saying it wasn't such a bad thing, that what was there before was worse because it was like kind of, it was a bit of a nest for crime. And so then they dragged in Doug and Greg. And Greg looked like, he'd really gone to town on the old Salvador Dali tash, like he'd really like twiddled it and twiddled it and twiddled it, so it was like kind of, you could kind of spike a veggie sausage on that tash. And Doug just sat there like looking, I don't know, just like a fish out of water. Like, wow, this is just weird. And first question they asked was like, you must be the first squatters I've ever met with double barrel surnames, because it's Gregory Scott Gurner and Doug King Smith. So that was a funny one. And also talk about the landlord calling them comedy squatters. And they did well, man. They did very well. They battered through it, and they just gave a good account of us and our project. And it was brilliant. It was a real coup. It was
very, very trippy for all of us, especially watching it. Have a look at it. Look at ourselves, all our faces. Even Jack managed to get into one of the shots and got a mention towards the end. What's the little dog's name? And Doug sort of like went, and Greg just sort of curled up a little bit around their face and just smiled and said, it's Jack. You know, it was very sweet, and very, quite something. I think the only positive spin Squatters had on mainstream daytime TV probably forever. And we nailed it.
Anyway, on with the show. Here's the, very dodgy copy of the broadcast. I took it off a screen. It was probably on a VHS originally. Yeah, so this is about as far away from the pristine nature of the broadcast as possible. This is really ropey, and I do apologise, but it's very squat-like. So here we go. Here's the 491 gallery, Vertigo, on the Richard and Judy Show.
It's kind of given, isn't it? Everybody hates squatters, especially property owners who suddenly find themselves turned into reluctant landlords. But as you're about to see, not all squatters are rotters. In fact, you could say that the bunch you're about to meet are a credit to the local community. 2 years ago, Greg Scott Gurner wandered into a derelict building that was littered with all the paraphernalia of routine drug use, not to mention infested with rats. Well, today, and to the delight of the building's owner and its neighbours, it's now a thriving home, a community centre, and a fantastic art gallery. Behold, a wondrous transformation.
We found the building sort of as I was walking past the last 2.5 years, and it was in a terrible state. It was so bad that I'd cross over the road, and avoid it. We don't really actually refer to ourselves as Scotters anymore. We tend to say we're part of SCRAP, which is Sustainable Community Regeneration Art Projects. As a group, the arts organisation is a non-profit making organisation, and with that, any money raised goes into the project to buy cement, to buy wood and stuff that we can't recycle. We have a textile area with 2 industrial sewing machines, all recycled or donated. There's a recording studio, which is made virtually entirely from recycled materials, soundproofing and everything. That moves into the Art Film Club. Again, the chairs that people are sitting on are what people have thrown away and stuff like that. So it's very makeshift. And then large exhibition areas. And any space that isn't being used can be used for an artist in residence to come in and do work.
I think really, with these places, if they leave them, they will get worse. And I think if people moved in and done more like they have here, it'd be fantastic.
It's been amazing. From the day we moved in, and there was friendly faces smiling through the broken glass, people felt better. I think we've lifted the spirit in this particular community.
Fantastic.
That is quite a squad, isn't it? Well, listen, Gregory Scott Gurner is here now with his fellow squatter, one of them, Douglas King Smith. Yeah, I was just thinking, you must be the only pair of squatters in the country to have double-barreled surnames. Somebody, the guy who came out and made that film today, said he thought you were kind of, what do they call them, trustafarians.
I think it's unlikely. There are thousands and thousands of squatters in the country, so it's sort of squatters have been misrepresented basically for a long time.
But are you homeless out of choice? I mean, because let's face it. I mean, you could afford to live somewhere, couldn't you? You could afford to pay for somewhere.
Not in London. Not doing voluntary work. True. Not wanting to turn around the debris of society.
And so, how would you describe yourself? I mean, are you primarily artists, or?
We're a very mixed bunch of people. We're sort of primarily it's the art organisation and artists that are sort of developing it, but we've got teachers. Doug's an anthropologist and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
I love the fact that when he's now become, in a sense, your landlord. When the guy who owns the place finally came around looking for trouble, basically walked in and you showed him what you'd already achieved. What did he call you? Comedy squatters.
Comic squatters.
Comic squatters, because you were
we
doing up the
had
place.
masks all on our faces and we were cleaning up his rubbish, really.
Yeah.
Tell us what it was like when you first came across it.
It was terrible. When we walked in, there was, heroin needles everywhere and evidence of all types of sort of drug abuse, muggings, etc. I think there was a midwife's handbag and all her sort of possessions that we tried to get back to her, and stuff like that. So it was quite shocking.
And you've done what you've done in a couple of years. Now you've brought it up to spec, as it were, brought it up to code. Is the guy who actually owns it, is he now going to turn around and say, thanks a lot, guys, I'll have it back now?
It's possible.
Right.
Hopefully he's watching, and he's definitely supporting what we're doing. So
What's in it for
this,
him? What's in it for him? What's in it for the owner of the property?
We're saving him a lot of money as far as sort of security.
Upkeep.
Yeah, this sort of type of thing is excellent security.
Right.
Instead of getting a dog or a security guard to stay there by themselves. On the rates as well, is a way in which that he's saving money.
All right.
hopefully other landlords will see that this can work for regeneration all over the country. I mean, 400,000 empty homes.
And
probably one next door.
Sure.
Yeah.
And under current law, if he were to decide he wanted to sell up, and obviously he couldn't sell up with you there, he does have the right. I mean, the law's changed a lot since the 60s and 70s when squatting really began. He does have the right for you to be forced to go, doesn't he? In due course.
Yeah.
So you know that. So it's in everyone's interest for you to keep him sweet. So he lets you stay there.
It's been an interesting situation because he has just been sweet. Even though when we first met him and we had a proposal of the project ready written for him, he was still sort of saying that I'm a capitalist and I'm not a nice man, and he's sort of softened as he's realised we're doing very good work.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Many congratulations. I think it's a fantastic achievement. But you make a habit of doing this, don't you? You've transformed several other spaces, haven't you?
There's been lots of projects around us and then further ones afield. We were involved in the Margate Rocks art exhibition down in Thanet, and we were actually asked to leave that because of having a nude modelling for people, so it's very
Drawing,
contemporary art.
believe it or not.
But also, locally we took over a post office that had been empty for 12 years, and that was really appreciated by the community.
Yeah.
Although the company owning it decided that they thought it would be better used as a pound shop.
All right.
So,
Well,
I think you must be the sweetest squatters I've ever met.
Sweetest got you a present, actually.
Oh, have
It's
you?
that sweet.
Even
Yeah.
sweeter.
This is made in the textile studio at the gallery. It's hand printed
By one of our
Not a
artists.
reword on it, has it? Because we've not seen these yet.
Oh,
No.
Oh,
cool.
that's cool. That's really nice, actually.
They're
hope you enjoy
beautiful.
And there's the logo on the front.
Yeah.
Is, we call it the Scrap logo, and what we would like to do is set up a charity called Scrap, which stands for Sustainable Community Regeneration Art Projects.
Right.
So other groups like us can form together and then work with landlords and councils to develop disused buildings.
Well,
Fantastic.
honestly, I'll take my hat off to you. Congratulations. Not that I wear a hat. But congratulations. Two really quick questions. One, is the moustache inspired by Salvador Dali?
During the beginning of the project, as an artist myself, I wanted to, induce energy of a great artist. So I chose Dali.
And two, the dog in the film. What's the name of the dog?
Jack.
Thank you.
Hi, Jack Russell.
We love you, everyone.
Jack.
All right, guys.
Well, go as it's called 149 to anybody who wants to go down there.
491.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
491.
There's back in this on the corner.
Some old biddy on the corner, yeah.
491 in Leytonstone, where, of course, Jonathan Ross comes from, and also David Beckham.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
And since they moved out, the area's gone like that.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Great pleasure. Still to come tonight, how Big Brother businesses.
I heard around that time that someone had designed a version of Monopoly based on all the squats in London. And I don't know about Community Chest. Maybe something like, I don't know, your yoga mat gets mildew, miss a turn. Oh yeah, and apparently Park Lane and Mayfair was Vertigo and the 491 gallery. So there was a board game out there. I'd love to have seen that. Sure.